All right, next one. Factor these out. All right, 3x squared, that means one of these is gonna have to be a 3 and one of them is not. All right, 5 and 1, that is also gonna get me 16. So this is a good time to grab a pencil. So let's try 1 and 5, because 5 times 1 is 5. That's gonna get me 3, that's gonna get me 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. I need 16, so that doesn't work. So I wanna flip these around. 3 times 5 is 15, 1 times x is 1, 15 plus 1 is 16, so that works. Okay. And now I have x and x. 15 would be 3 and 5 is 8. So it looks like they have those two in common. So your final is 3x plus 1 over x plus 3. All right, factor these. So I have x and x, I need 30. 30 would be 3 and 10, would be 6 and 5. Can either of those get me a 1? 6 minus 5 can, so let's try 6 and 5. So let's see, I need a negative 30, I need a negative 1. So negative 6 plus 5 would give me a negative 1. Okay. 2x squared, I know one of these is going to be a 2 and one is not. But now I got to get 45 and then 19. So 45, I'm going to start with 9 and 5. This is 10 and this is 9, and 10 plus 9 is 19. That was an easy guess. Okay, so they have those two in common. So x minus 6 and 2x plus 9. All right, next one. First of all, looking at this, one thing I would like to do is switch this around so the x squared comes at the front. And to do that, if I switch these around, it still has to be a negative x squared, and it still has to be a positive 1. Okay. First thing is factoring that out. So I have x and x. I need a 9 and then add together to get 8, so 9 times 1. But I need an 8, so a positive 8, so positive 9 minus 1 would give me a positive 8, which also gives me my negative 9. Now down here, you can't factor this out when it's a negative. So what you do is you're going to pull out a negative 1. You're going to pull out the negative 1 to make that x squared positive. And then what do you multiply by negative 1 to get positive 1? Another negative 1. But you can factor this because it's a difference of squares. X times x, and then 1 times 1 is 1. If 1 is positive and 1 is negative, the middle one cancels out. So those two are in common. So your final answer is x plus 9 over x plus 1. And because that's a negative 1, the whole thing is negative. All right, I'm going to flip my top one around to negative x plus 9. And I'm going to pull out that negative 1 to get x minus 9. So the top is actually going to stay that. But the bottom, I can factor. So I need 144, that's also gonna get me 25. Well, 144, my first thought is 12 and 12, and that can't work. So my next one, if I look at my multiplication chart, is 16 and 9. And that has to be a positive, but that has to be negative, so it has to be a negative 16 and a negative 9 to get me my positive 144. So those two are in common. So my final answer is negative 1 over x minus 16.